So the late 19th and early 20th centuries were a period of expansion and colonization in Asia and Africa, mostly by European powers. As you'll know if you watch Crash Course World History, imperialism has a long history pretty much everywhere. So this round of empire building is sometimes called, rather confusingly, New Imperialism. Because the US acquired territory beyond its continental boundaries in this period, it's relatively easy to fit American history into this world history paradigm. But there's also an argument that the United States has always been an empire. From very early on, the European settlers who became Americans were intent on pushing westward and conquering territory. The obvious victims of this expansion/imperialism were the Native Americans, but we can also include the Mexicans who lost their sovereignty after 1848. And if that doesn't sound like an empire to you, allow me to draw your attention. Same thing that we were doing. The empires of the late 19th and early 20th centuries were different because they were colonial in their own special way. Like Europeans and Americans would rule other places, but they wouldn't settle them and more or less completely displace the native people there. Well, except for you, Australia and New Zealand. American historians used to try to excuse America's acquisitions of a territorial empire as something of an embarrassing mistake, but that's misleading because one of the primary causes of the phenomenon of American imperialism was economics. We needed places to sell our amazing new products. And at the time, China actually had all of the customers because apparently it was opposite day. It's also not an accident that the US began pursuing imperialism in earnest during the 1890s, as this was in many ways a decade of crisis in America. The influx of immigrants and the crowded cities added to anxiety and concern over America's future, and then to cap it all off in 1893, a panic caused by the failure of a British bank led the US into a horrible economic depression. A Great Depression, but not the Great Depression. It did, however, feature 15,000 business failures and 17% unemployment, so take that, 2008. According to American diplomatic historian George Herring, imperialism was just what the doctor ordered to help America get out of its depression.
2 Bloomfield cops have now been indicted. A third quietly pleaded guilty to tampering and retired. It's all because of video the cops may have tried to hide.
Get out the car! Get out!
This is the Bloomfield Police Department's dash cam video that prosecutors say they never saw when they pursued criminal charges against 30-year-old Marcus Jeter. Notice his hands in the air. He was charged with eluding police, resisting arrest, and assault. And also notice who throws repeated punches. The tape not initially turned over is on the dash of a second police car that comes from the opposite direction, crosses the median into ongoing traffic, and then strikes Jeter's car. There is no mention of that in any police report.
Next thing I know, as he's coming around the car, the glass gets busted, and all the glass goes in my face.
Get out the car!
Your hands are up.
My hands are up. As soon as they opened the door, one of the officers reached in and just punched me in my face. As he's trying to take the seatbelt off, he's elbowing me in my jaw. And I'm like, ah, and he's like, stop trying to take my gun.
Don't take my gun!
Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. And as he's saying that, I just knew, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, okay, this is gonna go wrong.
Get down! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Why are you trying to get my gun? Get off my gun!
And right before when they opened the door about to put me in, the officer hits me in the back of the head again.
As soon as prosecutors saw this video, they dismissed all of the charges against Jeter. Interesting to note, an investigation by Bloomfield PD's scandal-plagued Internal Affairs Division had found no wrongdoing by police officers.
If we hadn't had the tapes in this particular case, an innocent man would be in jail today.
I'm sure that if this happened to me, it could happen to a bunch of other people.
We were there exclusively today in Essex County Court in Newark, where Bloomfield police officers Sean Corder, there on the left, and Orlando Trinidad, who you will see here on the right, were arraigned on charges including conspiracy, official misconduct, and falsifying reports. Trinidad is also charged with aggravated assault. They pleaded not guilty.
These 7 Baltimore City police officers arrested, charged with being hardcore criminals. The allegations range from stealing from innocent citizens to robbing drug dealers of cash and guns, some even of selling heroin.
These defendants allegedly were involved in stopping people who had not committed crimes and seizing their money, not only seizing their money, but pocketing it. So these are really simply robberies by people who are wearing police uniforms.
The alleged stealing from city residents was rampant, with amounts stolen ranging from $200 to $200,000. Prosecutors say the corruption included bogus search warrants, filing false police reports, and even putting in for thousands of dollars in overtime while on vacation.
These officers, they're 1930-style gangsters, as far as I'm concerned.
And authorities say there was a widespread cover-up, which involved coaching of each other to give false statements to Internal Affairs and turning off body cameras at key moments. October 10, 2010.
911 emergency. I have a 17-year-old son with Down syndrome, has severe behavior problems.
Seen in a white 98 Plymouth Voyager minivan.
Vehicles all over the roadway.
Dashcam video shows Jeremy Hutton stopping at the intersection of Rural Palm Beach and Okeechobee Boulevard in the van he took from his mom. Palm Beach County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Frankie pulls around. Hutton clips his cruiser. The deputy shoots.
Shots fired.
Jeremy Hutton was shot 3 times.
He was shot in the head, he was shot in the shoulder, and he was shot in the arm.
He lived. Now his attorney is working to prove what the deputy did was all wrong, and the system designed to hold officers accountable here is broken.
The van was stopped.
Hours later, he explains to investigators what happened.
I watched the driver, he turned the wheel, and he just started coming at me.
Leaving the, quote, terrified deputy no choice.
Completely drew my firearm and started firing as he reached where I was.
Fired.
Both PBSO and the state attorney's office justified the shooting.
And I was in fear he was going to hit me.
Case closed until...
I don't think anybody knew or anticipated that they were going to get caught by a traffic camera.
Because this traffic camera video, he says, shows an entirely different story.
But the traffic camera clearly shows that Jeremy Hutton not only was driving away from the deputy, but actually turned his vehicle as far to the left as possible to completely try to avoid hitting this deputy. So it's completely inconsistent with what was told by the deputy, and it's appalling.
I got a big mouth, can't help it. I talk from my heart, I'm real, you know what I'm saying, whatever comes, comes. But my controversy problem, and it's not my fault. I'm trying to find my way in the world, you know, I'm trying to be somebody instead of just make money off everybody. I got a big mouth, can't help it. I talk from my heart, I'm real, you know what I'm saying, whatever comes, comes. But my controversy problem, and it's not my fault. I'm trying to find my way in the world, you know, I'm trying to be somebody instead of just make money off everybody.
Met her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Met her with my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Met her with my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Met her with my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. Met her with my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. My dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.
Ever since you was born, I've been pushing you. Trying to make you the best ball player that you could possibly be. Trying to make you the ball player that I never was. I finally came to the realization that I was pushing you further and further away from me also. But I believe that things are gonna work out for the best, for you.
Jesus was a name.
For Mary.
You got the game. Sip, sip, sip on this.
Your great-grandfather used to always tell me that you keep trying on shoes, and sooner or later you're gonna find a pair that fits you.
The farmhouse?
Well, I'm here to testify that I found a pair.
It hurt like hell, son. I love you.
I love you, son.
Your father.
Thank you.